Welcome to Press Play by Thysse, a series of real-life case studies. I'm Giese, Vice President of Client Success, and today I want to share a story about our approach to inventory management and how we've helped many of our partners with supply chain challenges. I'll focus on a client that we work with pretty frequently that we've worked with for several years, which is in the hardware industry. More specifically, we're actually going to dive into how we help them with their accessories, which dials it down a step further into card packaging. So there'll be a lot of different SKUs and different examples that still work within this realm, but let's just focus on accessories within hardware. I think there's three primary challenges that most clients come to us with. Quality is always a big one. If they're working with multiple suppliers or they're working on combo runs where just one item's going on with several other brands. On the press run, you can lose some control over the quality, where if you're, say, taking that red to make that red a little more vibrant and someone else loses their green or orange, you can run into some problems that way. So if we're ganging orders together for efficiency, that's fine, but we like to do it within the same brand here. Reliability is always a big one. I can't get my product on time is certainly something a supply chain or procurement individual never wants to have to say or think. So working around those challenges, that's always a really big one. And then just pricing and consistency. You want to know what your profit margins are going to look like when you come back at the end of the piece. If your sell cost is going to be this, you want to know what your packaging cost is going to be. And if you have a wild swing in there, it's pretty hard to see what your profit margins are going to look like. I think the first key in any challenge is just understanding really what the problem is. Sometimes what that problem is doesn't actually look the same on the surface. So just digging in there and, again, as a partner, just understanding really what that challenge is. If there's multiple challenges, understanding what the hierarchy is. There's this old saying that goes, pricing, quality, or turnaround, pick any two. It's really hard to get all three of those balanced out really well. But if we just understand the priorities, sometimes that third one's not as high of a priority. So if you focus on the first two, you kind of inherently hit that third one too. So we really like our clients to have their cake and eat it too. Sometimes it's simply not possible, but I think that that's part of the journey in working together and understanding each other. I think next, just understanding what success looks like. Again, I guess going back to the color option, some people are okay, is it blue? Yes, check, let's move on. With some of them, do we have to take that blue and we have to dial it in within a 2.0 delta E and make sure that a spectrophotometer can qualify the color and eyeballs don't matter? Check, we can do that too, but we need to know what that definition of success looks like. As far as getting into reliable turn times, again, it's just a set of clear expectations. So we really like to dig into projections. If you're able to download from an ERP system and project the future based on the past, we went through this much annual estimated usage with each one of these items, and they're in a spreadsheet. We speak spreadsheet. You kind of take that with what the projections for the future look like from this point forward. Maybe you feel pretty confident in 10%. Maybe this line of business is 10%. Maybe this item is 10%. Maybe it's 50%. If we can really dig into what those projections are and start to work with those. And then, nobody has a perfectly clear crystal ball. But if we can take a look at those details together, figure out what that order cadence looks like based upon what is known or what is expected to be known, we can work together towards that and then try to find that sweet spot between the economies of scale of setting something up versus the risk of obsolescence and trying to really strive towards lean manufacturing too. And as long as we're always on the same page, we can get there. So I think understanding, again, going back to where we've started to work with a lot of our partners, what their challenges were and what the real problem was, getting to the heart of that and making sure that the resolution is clear and then working together to figure out what that is. I really think that when you have two organizations working together with towards a common goal, it's a lot easier to accomplish those. So again, it's asking the right questions to come up with the right answers. So as far as specific solutions we've implemented, again, this works back to working with a partner. A solution that we've worked out with is a cadence of trying to work with our clients. So by putting in a monthly order at the same time of every month, it gives us the expectation of when that order is going to be coming in, so we can prepare our materials, make sure that we've got leverage worked out, and supply chains worked out with our providers for materials, while also our client knows when to have an order assembled. If something all of a sudden just goes blowing up in projections and we need to run that off cycle, it happens. We try not to. And by putting an order on monthly, it minimizes the chances that we'll have to do that. We have worked with suppliers or with partners in the past too on running something every 3 months. Then you start to get down to that end, and am I really going to need to put this on or not? And we don't want anybody to have to worry about that. So if we put something on as frequently as every month, it still gives us enough opportunity to gang some orders, and then we just work on what that cadence of the turnaround expectations look like. And then we just get into, over the course of a year, month by month, we've got that expectation, and it just gets into a routine. Works well for our operations, works well for the receiving end of product. There's just a lot of wins in there that work out all the way around. Some other systems we put together, there's a few different type of brand portals where you can log in 24/7, place orders, use it as a single source of truth for your inventory. You log in, hover over something to see how much is currently on the shelf. Some items are print on demand. You place an order there, and then it goes out, hits our operations from that point. We have repositories of information where it'll walk across a whole litany of fields, from what's the width, what's the height, what's the die cut code, so that if we can match up like items, what are the ink colors on these particular pieces. And the more that you can pull together information into a spreadsheet that you can sort out, you can gang together items for likeness and be able to run them together for greater efficiency. Again, we don't take things together and work different brands combined together, but within the same brand, it works out really well. So I think that, amongst all of those different solutions, again, we don't work with two partners that are the same. So, we don't work with one system either. We can just kind of apply the best tool to the job. And what changed for the client? That's really where it starts to get important, right? When the rubber meets the road here. I think in this case, I think the efficiency of being able to lean on a partner to manage a lot of their inventory, the quality results really came back and helped out in this case. I think too, a thing that gets overlooked in this a lot is, how much time and energy really goes into a 3-bid process. You've got your team working with multiple providers, sending out information to get a bid, waiting for information to come back. It's just so much more efficient if you can just really lean into a partner and just use that leverage that you have with the body of work. Really get to a good understanding and a good sync in your communications, really understand each other, and just save all that time of going back and forth. It sounds cliche, but I really think that our customer service is what stands out. I get that anybody can say that, but going across our group of account managers and project managers that are on the front end processing side of the business, there's nobody in our group that's got less than 20 years of experience in the trade. All of them are very experienced, even just within Thysse, so they understand our equipment strengths, they understand where limitations are. If we do run into something that is looking like a limitation, we'll be the first ones to call it out, because we want to make sure that every first opportunity is gonna stand out and be a good one. I think in the case of this particular client that we walked through, they're self-managing a lot of their own inventory, working with different systems. We even found that our system could track things better. Like say if you have a track seal card set that's fused together around a product, we found that our system could manage a different rev version for the front card and the back card, whereas their system could not. So eventually we found that our systems were actually even able to benefit our clients beyond what their own ERP system could do. So again, two partners working towards a common goal, you get good results that way. Deliverability's really come a long ways with this client. Even when we started working out, we had to feel things out on the front end too. I think the biggest thing that's really helped, if you look back 5-6 years ago when we started to work on this one, was every once in a while there was still something that'll slip through the cracks and there become this hot rush job. So yes, they happen. We'd always take care of it one way or another, but that's inefficient for us. It's more stressful of something to manage on their end. You don't want their operations team waiting on something. We've gotten into such a good groove that we've come to a much better comfort level on this. so that the times of sending something through in a hot rush are almost non-existent. Sometimes we'll move something up because operations will move something up in their manufacturing schedule, but it's a matter of moving something up a week or two, and we've gotten so good at communicating, especially through some weekly meetings where we check in with each other, that we get that time to react so that we're not dropping something at the last minute. It's just really worked out well over time, and again, just quantifying the color standards, the quality standards, the expectations. We know what flies and what doesn't. So if we run something off the press and that color doesn't match, they never even know about it. We just reprint it because we understand what those expectations are, and we strive for everything that goes out the door to meet or exceed those expectations. I think another thing that's really important is you go through every step in our manufacturing process, everybody on our shop floor understands that they're empowered to stop something if it doesn't look right. Quality is really important to us, especially for our top partners where we understand what those expectations are. A lot of people kind of think you just hit print, or we have a whole stash of magic wands back here that just make things happen. It's a very complex industry. We have a lot of color science individuals and automation improvement specialists, and there's just a lot of moving parts to this business. I think this story applies to others in similar situations because just understand that a commercial printing company is not out to get you. The sales guy is really more of a consultant than he is trying to sell you something. Really, at least here at Thysse anyway, we're really looking to be partners. We're not interested in just a job. We're interested in a program or a process or a line of business, and we're really interested in the lifetime value of a partnership. Another thing to take away from this success is that it's not just the investment-backed big guys out there that are controlling all the shots in the industry these days. You can have your medium-sized family-owned businesses that are big enough to be capable, small enough to be agile. Sometimes it's nice to be a big fish in a medium pond and not feel like you're the little guy that's competing with everything else, and you may or may not get something out on time. You should have more priority out there than maybe what you're getting. We tend to hear this perception a lot, and again, it comes down to the customer service aspect of what we're able to invest on our end. Just our Midwest values definitely come out in our business. So I think that's something that I hope everybody's able to take away from this. Thanks so much for watching. If this challenge sounds familiar, feel free to reach out to me at jj@thysse.com or visit our website to learn more.